Hi, my name is Cheri. Welcome to my stamp studio. That's how I start a lot of my videos, most of them as a matter of fact. But today I really am welcoming you into my stamp studio for a little studio tour. So we had talked about showing you guys our working spaces, and the day that we did it, mine was a complete disaster. It still isn't totally clean. It's in between. So Susan, Tanya, and I talked about showing you them completely and utterly messy. Here's my helper. And then showing you them clean. But my table, if you follow me, this is an old work table that my husband got from one of his former places of employment, and it was burgundy. And so we paint it every couple of years. We actually cut the stripes into it to make it look like a farmhouse table. And so when you watch my videos, I stamp on it. Like, I very rarely, it's my helper, use paper on it because I like the way the wood looks. And so the plan had been for him to redo the table when we went to Onstage in November. And so as summer progressed, I got even more careless than I normally am, especially like with our pigment sprinkles and embossing powders. And so the table was a complete and utter disaster. So the other day I was trying to find someplace to take a picture, and he said, "Do you want me to paint that for you?" And so we quickly cleared it off, which there was so much stuff on it that while he was painting it, I put some stuff up. So my office is in the middle of, it's not all the way put up, but it's not a complete disaster like it was the other day. So I'm just going to walk around and kind of show you, because when you watch the videos, of course, you mainly see me sit here. Back before I did different kinds of videoing, my studio space felt a lot airier. And it's just not worth the trouble. For a while, I kept putting all of this stuff back because as we walk around, you'll see there's a lot, it takes a lot of stuff to produce videos, and I don't even have all of the stuff that you really need. A lot of times people give me creative advice, and I'm not even sure that the people that are giving advice make videos, but you know that the sound could be better or the quality of a picture could be better. So you can see I've invested in several different things, but they all take up space, and you know, those especially my lights. But in the depths of winter, it is nice to have the extra lights even as I work. So well, let's start from the inside, and I will tell you, this is a loft space. You can see the rest of my house, and it is not clean either, is downstairs. So when we bought the house, we had it built. My daughter was going into kindergarten, and I also had my nieces. My sister works in the healthcare field. So if Carissa was 5, my nieces were 3 and 2. So we had the option when we had this built, the house built, to have this be slats down to the downstairs. And at the time, I knew I was going to use this for a stamp area because I was a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator then, and my daughter's now almost 26. But at the time, I just had visions of toys being forced through the slats. So I'm really glad now that we didn't have that option and we just had the wall. So at the time, I was sad because I thought it would make it feel airier. Now I'm glad. And my cat, yeah, he likes to push stuff off. So he just pushed something over. Yeah, it's just the money, I think. But he likes to knock things off. We've had cats the whole time we've lived here, and he's by far the worst. But we did have one cat that liked to jump off onto the second floor from up here. So he often comes in my videos. So in the last transformation of the office, which was about 4 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, we repainted. This is petal pink. If you take a cardstock piece into the paint store, then a lot of paint stores can match it. So it's petal pink, and the purple, maybe it's not, it's maybe wisteria. It's not a current purple that we have because it's kind of, it looks a little bit like purple posy. But it's not a current purple that we have. But before that, it was barely banana, and it had carpet. So we changed the flooring out. The flooring is waterproof, which helps because my carpet did have stains and things like the pigment sprinkles. So then my husband did cut into this to add the stamps. I only keep stamps that are current in this space. So they're current except for the holiday catalog, because the holiday catalog gets, it gets a little busy in with Christmas and switching into Celebration and the mini catalog. So sometimes there are Christmas ones in there until things slow down and I can get those moved out. And sometimes I'm confused and we're not really sure which ones are going to make it. But I do have another separate bedroom. It used to be our toy room, and now it's called the eBay room. So that's where all of my retired stuff goes. And I do sell most of my stuff on eBay. It's just easier than, I used to sell it to people that came to my house, but pricing it and putting it all out and then picking it all up was just not worth the effort. So in here, this is a lot of my scrapbooking stuff that hardly ever gets used. There's a whole lot of Project Life, a whole lot of scrapbooks, a whole lot of pictures. But it's in there if I ever have the time to scrapbook. Then this was what my storage originally was, and that's where a lot of my stuff was. That's a lot of extra stuff now. It's things like candy, it's envelopes, it's kind of miscellaneous stuff, when we go to, like, there's candy in there if there's ever the apocalypse and people are wandering through my house because they're trying to find food, then the candy might be tasting good, but you wouldn't want to eat it now because there's probably M&Ms, they're colored for Halloween that have been in there for 3 or 4 years, because when you go to make something in August with our brand new Halloween stamps and there's no Halloween candy out yet, I have some, don't you fear. So there's always off-season candy in there. Then I've been a demonstrator. It will be my 25th year this year. So I have all of the catalogs from all of the years. There's, just random stuff in there. There's lots of kits of our kits. I like to give those out as gifts. I have a couple that I'm going to send to some of the new demonstrators that have joined my team. So some of those will be going out as soon as I get a chance to go to the post office. Then over here are some finished scrapbooks, like they say 1999, 2000, 2001, back when Stampin' Up! Had scrapbooks that we could actually stamp on. And then up here, this is where, it's not really cleaned up. This is a lot of the stuff that I'm actually working on. So some kits that I've not opened. So 2 that I'm getting ready to stamp with for our thing. So by the time you actually see this video, I will have done it. Here's some of the projects that we've working on. One of the solutions that I'm trying to come up with is some place to keep all my blocks, because when they're not all being used, I have a ton of them. And then sometimes I have them all mounted. So when they're not being used, this isn't all of them, it's the larger size. These are some that haven't been unmounted yet from camp. These are packets of things from my online classes or from demonstrator events. And then the other thing that I have such a hard time that is always overtaking my life are samples. So these are current samples that are just, those are holiday catalog actually. I think these are in there, except for that one on top. Those are all samples from just now's catalog. So the mini and the Celebration. Here's where I have like extra tapes, because once I start getting ready for camp, down here I have a stack of buckets. And so I need like lots of tear and tape or lots of glue dots. So as I get buckets ready, because that's how I do my projects, then I can put things in buckets. So then here's the wall that you see, and that's the wall that I have in my, like, is the banner for my page. And this is just paneling that my husband whitewashed for me. So it comes burgundy, and we just whitewashed it. So here again is the table. So, and these are just faux cut lines. So the actual table is more this color. And you can see, I don't mind. The table was not in great shape. It's a beautiful table. It's got beautiful legs that you can kind of see down there here. So it was in its former life, it had been beautiful, but where he worked, they actually used it for like a work table. So it had seen far better days. So I don't mind that I use it for a work table. But here's where I sit. And so the new paper trimmer has a hook, which this is one of my favorite new features of my office. But because it has this hook here that you can hang it, it doesn't have to be on the table, because these things take up a lot of space. And then I have my embossing gun as well. This is the older one. I have 3 different variations of ones that we've had over the 25 years, but this is my one that I prefer. But this way they can both be right where I need them and they're not on the table. That is what I'm kind of looking for my blocks. So I can have them kind of hanging someplace down here, because it's very rare that I actually have people up here stamping. I keep my die cut machine there on another rolly most of the time when I'm filming. And then when I go to film, I move it up here, but then I don't have to have it on the table. So this is all stuff that I'm in the middle of working on for our event. Then if a lot of times at camps, I put my things here so they're on the table and raised up. Then before Stampin' Up! Offered storage solutions for our blends, and some of my blends are ready to take for our 24-hour live. Some of them are, I have one project ready for February camp. So the ones that are not out are here, but my husband made me these before we had something. And then I just have the stuff that I reach for often is over here. So pigment sprinkles, glues, so many Stellas. I love Stellas. And then these are all spritzers, some filled with water, some filled with alcohol. I try to write on them, it comes off. Then my watercolor pencils and blender pens. I have all of the markers over with what they go with, the colors they go with, but when the sample pack was on sale, then, you know, I had to buy those on clearance. So I have all of those colors just random here. Then here are all of my, another thing of glue dots, tons of dimensionals, because again, as I prepare things for my in-home classes, then they go in buckets. This is just a little, like a little letter sorter, and I keep mostly vanilla, white, shimmery white, and like black and crumb cake, some neutral colors in there, so I don't always have to be getting up and getting it. So as I have offcuts or half sheets or quarter sheets, I just stick them all in there. Then it saves you always having to go get those, because you know you're going to use them. Again, more spare blocks, because we always need more blocks. Seems like no matter how many you have, you need more, right? And then here again is all the tools that you just reach for. And this is one of my favorite little things. I picked it up at Home Goods. A lot of the stuff in here came from Home Goods. Again, I try to keep mostly one package of all the embellishments in here. And I find that works. And then I try to, as soon as they're not current anymore, I try to get them out of here so I don't use them on a project. And you guys are saying, except for this. This is my Luscious Lime. That's my very favorite color in all of my 25 years. And it retired, oh, at least a decade ago. It's been retired for a very long time. It just makes me happy. So it just stays in here. It still works. And it's been retired for probably, I don't know, maybe 15 years, a very long time. And so that's just in there, but there's no way I'm going to forget and use it, because I know Luscious Lime is no longer with us. So that stuff's all in there. Then sometimes I just put things that I know I'm going to reach for. Like these are some new punches that I haven't used yet. Then I keep some neutral ribbons and a bunch of my dyed ribbons over there, because those are the colors that I happen to have dyed. Stamparatus here, Stamparatus there. I have 3 of them. Then over here is another little mail sorter, and that's where I have all of my embossing folders. Then I have here, these are from our local grocery store. It's called Meyer. Well, it's like a grocery department store. So on one side of this, it was a whiteboard, and on the other was a chalkboard, and they were like $4.99. And so I bought them, and then I just bought this magnet sheet from Amazon and covered both sides with magnet. So one always gets taken down when I have a camp or a class or my demonstrator team over, and the dies that we're going to use at camp then can sit right there with the die cutting machines. So then everything that they're going to use can be right there, and then they don't get lost and they can see them. These right here are all new ones that I know I'm going to be working with. So those have been pulled out. I just did a video with both the bees. These are all ones I just filmed with. Here's one, and I'll probably start sticking the ones that I plan on taking to Tanya's for the 24-hour live. It's just an easier way for me to store them. They stick on it real well, and I don't have to worry about losing them. And here's another little letter sorter. I find they're great for everything. This has all my extra plates. It has some of the stampy, spongy things. Oh, well, I have pictures that filter through on my thing, and apparently I have some firework pictures. So there's going to be a little bit of talking, but the extra plates for my Stamparatus, extra plates for the die cut machine. Then over here, just like, you know, the paper kind of does it for you. Let me see. Okay, this is, you know, sometimes I just go through. This is maybe our last trip to Australia. Go through those. I'm just going to pause that. I do have a rather large computer screen. It was my husband's choice, but it's as big as a TV, which is handy because I can turn on a video if I want. But you know, paper just overtakes you, especially if you're cutting for classes. So here I have like little, it's the things of paper that I don't want to lose that are kind of open. So I stick these in here so they don't get swallowed up in the rest of it. And here, this is where I would put one of my camera stands. So there's an Archon, which I have borrowed from Tanya. There's one that my husband made me, but I put them up on here so I can maneuver it between my lights because there's not a lot of space and I don't want to spread these apart anymore. But there's also extra paper in here. And then I will show you, that's about all I keep on my table. It's extra paper down there. And then down here on the floor is where I keep larger pieces of paper. And this is from the Container Store. And I just have like a section of white and vanilla and shimmery white, because you know that's my favorite color. And then like half sheets and then larger pieces of scrap, kind of by color family. So again, if I can stay here and pull out pieces, but I have also been looking for some designer series papers kind of things. It's just hard because it's not so much of what's out there isn't 12 by 12 storage size. So this again came from where my husband used to work. He worked at Hudson Institute, which relocated to Washington, D.C. when he worked there, and we didn't want to move. So when they moved, he got to keep some of the furniture that they didn't want to take. So this is, I would love to have my actual cards in my card catalog. It's an old-fashioned library catalog right now. You know, I keep a lot of, like, here she is. I have a lot of, like, if you open one of the drawers, you'll find my Thanksgiving little candles. So I keep a lot of the little things that I will want to take pictures of when it will be off season. So in September, when I want to have a couple of pictures that have Christmas cards, I don't want to keep all my Christmas decorations down, but this way I can keep a few little decorations. It also has all of our pictures that aren't scrapbooked from before digital cameras were a thing. But it's just got like a lot of little knick-knacky things. Like here's some winter things and some Thanksgiving things. My husband has suggested that perhaps I write what's in them, but it would look messy. So it's just a game I play. It's like a memory game. How many drawers can you open to remember most of the Topsail pictures? It also has, like, here's all my Thanksgiving candles. Also has, like, all of the old letters that my grandmother wrote me when I lived overseas for the large part of my 20s. And my grandmother was faithful at writing, so almost all of the letters that she wrote me are in there. So it's just a mishmash of everything. And then there's a bit of retired stuff in there that I want to keep, but over time I've moved that out. Then up here again is also staging, just some extra stuff, more cards because I have cards coming out. And then more things I take pictures with, my little card stands. And this is just kind of pretties. Every time you go to a Stampin' Up! Event, they give you pens. So sometimes I use them, sometimes I never use them, and they just sit there in my Stampin' Up! Cups because I have lots and lots of Stampin' Up! Cups, Stampin' Up! Pens, Stampin' Up! Stamps, Stampin' Up! Actual pens. So it's just kind of finding a way to put them on there. So then we move to, this is my guillotine, and that is how I cut paper for my online classes, for my in-person classes. Anytime I'm cutting bulk paper, I use the guillotine. And this also was my grandmother's, so it's from like the 60s, but my husband can take the arm off and go sharpen it about every couple of months. And this is just all of my office supplies. There's a little stool down there that my cat sits in. Not the cat that was in here with us before, my other one, because she likes to be with me when I'm at the computer. So the other thing that can overtake you if you're a Stampin' Up! Person are your bags, because every time we go to an event, we get a bag. Sometimes they're huge, sometimes they're backpacks, sometimes they're rolly bags. They can be all different sizes. So at one point I had all of my bags over here, but then there was really no place left for me to sit. So I have since moved those to my eBay room, which I kind of liked it because it was pretty, but there were just too much. So instead I just keep over here. Every time you also go to an event, they give us, like you get name tags and little ribbons. So I've put those over here instead. So some of them I keep on the lanyard, some of them I pull off because again, it gets a little overwhelming. Once upon a time, they used to give us like recognition pins. They don't do that so much anymore, but this last time we did get pins that matched the stamp sets. So there's like the little toucan that will be, I might wear him at our, I don't know which ones the other girls got, I don't remember, and the umbrella, and then a Stampin' Up. So they were trading pins, but we used to always wear the pins on our lanyards. We don't do that so much anymore, so I didn't even take, that's from one time when I did wear them to a time when I didn't. But so instead of the bags, because now I pretty much use Tanya, you know, she designed these fabulous bags for us, but you can order if you like those, and they're a little bit more sturdy, and there's spaces for our water bottles and stuff, so I mostly carry that. So that is like my main space. It's nice and large, but then I was always, of course, like all of the paper and all of the inks, because I had 3 full sets of ink pads. So this, you probably saw from the other side, was an TV cabinet that my mom gave us. My husband actually had to cut it apart to get it up the stairs because it's real wood and it was kind of expensive. That's not a Christmas tree. And people tease me about it. It's just up there because our hallway's dark, so it's lit up all year round. It makes me happy when it's gray outside. So, hey. And sometimes I do put seasonal decorations on it, but right now it has nothing. It does get Christmas decorations at Christmas time. So when I got this, at first I just like jammed stuff in it, and it was not a good use of space, kind of like this. Down here is more staging stuff, some extra things of cardstock, some random kind of stuff like paintbrushes and foam brushes, kind of like a mini little Joann's or Michael's down here. So that was kind of what I was doing with the whole thing, but this kind of takes up a lot of space. So I had my husband, a lot of you have already seen it, he has designed it so everything is really in here. So this is where most of my dies are. I do have, I don't think I showed you, as I get new ones until I've used them or used most of them, I have them in here. So look how many I still have to use. I feel a little bit like I need to get with it. So on the doors, we added magnet sheet again from Amazon, and there's like 3 different sheets that we have cut down on both sides. So I have to kind of get this out of the way. I knew doing this one-handed was not going to be easy. And so here we have, he built these little inserts. And I tried to keep, unless I know, like I know we don't have metallic pencils, but like with the ribbon, I try to, as soon as retired lists come out, except for like holiday catalog, I try to get rid of it. But a lot of times things from one little catalog to the next don't carry over. Like I don't think that you can get the snowman things right now, but I'm not going to use them. If an embossing powder goes away, I try to get it out. Here's some stamps that I just loved. So I just kept a few of them because my daughter played golf. So we had a lot of golf people around in our lives that I needed cards for. So I kept that one stamp. We don't have much washi tape anymore, but I have lots of uses for it. So there's some over there. The current washi tape is here. So I try to keep everything in here current unless I know, like I know we don't have this anymore, but how much fun was this when we had this giant whopping huge thing of glitter. But sometimes at Christmas I might use it. I know we don't have this anymore. So obvious things I can remember, but otherwise I tried to keep it so I don't have to think about it. So then again, I might have to open this side first because I'm holding this. Again, on these ends, more dies. And if you do something like this where you're going to be touching it, you do need to get strong magnets because it will fall off. And then we have all of the inks. I do need to order some more Well, some of the ink refills are out because I have been dyeing ribbons. And sometimes I use a lot of refill when I dye the ribbons. I do have all of the ink pads in the new and all of the ink pads in the old. And again, more dyes. And just when you think, how many more dyes can this girl have? Don't you worry, I found some more places to stick magnets. And then my punches are all in here. When he first designed this, we still had the larger dies, the Sizzix dies that were fat, and that's originally what was in here. And in here, I think. I don't remember. Because then right after that, more dies over here. So lots and lots and lots of dies. And even then, you can see with those on the board and these here, there's not enough room in here for all of my dies. So that's partly why I have to keep them, just what's current. Then all of the paper. My paper is arranged by color family. And then my inks are arranged by rainbow. So if I am confused, sometimes like I want to stay within a color family if I'm doing an online class, so then I can look up here and know which color family they're in. These right here, if you buy the full set of markers, you get this little thing here, which I also got if you ordered back when you got the insert for the new colors. So I just took those and cut them up and taped them on here. And then of course the in colors that came out since then, I don't have them for. So I have my 12 by 12 down here. These are no longer right because over time everything gets switched around. He did put a light inside of it for me because it gets kind of dark if I'm working in the evening. When he first made this, I was still working full time, so most of my stamping was done in the evening. And for those of you who have to stamp mostly at night, you know that it's easier to see colors in sunlight than it is at nighttime, especially if it's inside a little cabinet like that. So that light really helped. But it's also great for me to come over and see which colors I'm running low on. Except for in colors, because I don't have a great I don't have enough slots for all the in colors. So sometimes I'm out of an in color and I don't know it. So sometimes there's like areas I need to tweak, but I don't get to it. So that's pretty much those up there he made. And the theory was that I would switch pictures out. But I got those pictures printed when we first made them and I haven't ever switched them. But they're beautiful, so I guess they can stay. So I think that's about it for my office space. Though, I mean, my biggest, because we wanted to tell you storage tips. My biggest storage tips, I think, are the little paper storage that's down, and you can see my trash, the little paper storage thing, and that's from the Container Store, and it was maybe like $15. I got it probably 5 or 6 years ago. Before I had this also came from the Container Store, and it just this has my smaller pieces of paper, and so sometimes if I'm running over and I just need some small, then this is just purples and blues, and I'm not real strict about whatever goes in there. And then if I just am making a couple of, like, designing a card, I can pull in here. And then when I go to, like, if you get a giant stack after you've been stamping for a while and you haven't cleaned up, just kind of separate it out in color family, and I put it back that way. And then I try to pull from that so it doesn't, if it starts getting too full, then I make myself use that. And then for those larger pieces, I do it down there. And then the other tip is, if you do sit someplace where you can hang your paper cutter out of the way, do that, because that's fabulous. If you can get that paper cutter where it's not on your table, because I can reach down, pull that up, cut with it, and then just stick it right back down there, and it's not taking up, because it's large and it takes up a large spot of my table. So that's my office space. So if you have any questions, just ask. So that is welcome to my studio. Bye.